Okay, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel and the Galilee, 29th of June. It's Sunday, 7:53 in the morning. What is our weather going to be like today? That's curious. Let's see. Wow, it's hot. 78 already, and we're going to hit 97. He gave us a severe, we got a forest fire warning, a warning, and then we got a severe high temperature warning. The forest warning for fires is only moderate. And that's going to be hot. Tomorrow we drop down to a high of 93. Then we go to 95, 92, 91. It's hot. We're probably going to stay hot until we get redemption. What are you going to do? Punishment weather, and we're here, and we got to go through it with them, although he's not really trying to punish us, I don't think. Is that me? No, that would be my wife. I have no devices other than that. Phone's ringing. I guess she's outside. Hold on, I gotta see what these messages are here. Keeping me confusion here. I'll be back. I'll be with you guys in a second. I got all these messages from. What they're telling me. Okay. All right, it was a delivery. There are deliveries opening up in Israel now from overseas. They're starting to come in pretty quickly too, from Europe anyway. So it's starting to open up. Amazon in America has not really opened up delivery to us yet, which is annoying. Because we can buy stuff from Amazon with free delivery, and it's a lot cheaper than Israel. And if you keep it under $75 or $75 or less, you don't pay any of the taxes, so it's far cheaper. Because you buy it in Israel, the prices are higher, and then you got to pay 17% tax. The government a few years ago wanted to up it from $75, I think it would have went to 300. But then all of a sudden, a retailers association popped up that I never heard of before. Must have grafted the government with lobbying or something like that, and they killed it. See, that's what you get with Netanyahu. Doesn't care about the people. Okay, so what we're going to cover today is what is the return of the war with Iran, which is coming back. It never really stopped. Iran's being attacked every day by mysterious drones and things like that for targeted assassinations, and they're hitting buildings and causing fires and things like that. And it looks like Trump will probably join in. And I'll give you the breakdown why this is happening, what the signs of it are, what the Israelis officials are saying, which is slightly cloaked or slightly veiled, very slightly. I'll give you the whole breakdown and you'll see. And when will it happen? Probably pretty soon, days. Okay, which means Israel's going to get more ballistic missiles again. And I'll go through Netanyahu's motives with you, and they're quite awful, and all this other stuff. Okay, I got to go into the live stream and make sure we got a live stream. And then make sure we got sound and picture. And then we got sound and picture. Check the chat. Okay. Thank you, moderators. Thank you so much. Well, two sides to wars. If you're going at this by man, yeah, but this is a Bible-believing site. We're going at it by what God says and the prophecies, okay? I interpret the news with Bible and Bible prophecies so you get the truth. If you really don't believe the Bible, then I'm not going to be making a lot of sense to you. I got to put a post up real quick. Okay, got it. My post up being a Bible-believing site, Old and New Testament. We're going to do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, so let's just jump right in. Why is this happening where Trump and Israel are going to reopen the war against Iran? And though Trump didn't really do much to Iran, I don't know what he'll do the next time. But it appears Trump's been threatening Iran too, saying they will attack again. Let's start by what were all the so-called actions and statements of Iran that the Americans and the Israelis found antagonistic. Boy, it's a ton of them. We'd be here a long time. I'll give you some of them. Iran said that the cameras in their nuclear facilities are gone, disabled. They said the IAEA, that's part of NATO, of UN, not NATO, part of the UN, International Atomic Energy Administration, and they are no longer welcome in the country of Iran. The head of it, his name is Grousey or Gaussy, something like that. And the Iranians are talking about doing a targeted assassination on him, a top UN official. He is stating that the Iranians are months away from getting their nuclear program back on, completed and stuff like this, finish it, rebuild and finish it. Okay, I'm telling you, the damage to the nuclear facilities was not serious, except with one maybe exception, Fordo. Okay, that might be the only exception. Okay, maybe. What they basically did was attack the multiple entrances and exits that these facilities had. I don't know how many exit entrances these facilities each had, but with the missile cities, which are also underground, it's many. I hear up to 12 entrances and exits. The nuclear facilities could have had as many. So if you disabled 2 or 3 of them, you didn't do anything. Now there's ductwork, DUCT, and duct is like, you go in your house and you have central air conditioning and heat, and there's those aluminum things that run around above the ceiling and they come out through a vent. That's called duct work, DUCT work, okay? The duct work blows the heat or the air conditioning around your house, right? Okay. So when I say duct work in a nuclear facility that's underground, we're talking about a similar concept, except we're not worried about heating and air conditioning. We're worried about getting air into a facility hundreds of feet underground. It's a big problem. If they don't have air, they're going to die, right? Plus, the machines may get screwed up and overheat because they get too hot there. I don't know much about that, but probably would cause secondary problems to the machinery if there was no flow of air. So, they hit the ductwork. Now, it's hard to say how much damage they did to the ductwork. I don't think they were able to get a bomb that will go travel hundreds of feet through the ductwork that could fit in there and so forth. To prevent against that, the ductwork would, of course, have 90-degree turns or serious turns. It wouldn't work that way. I mean, I highly doubt that that's stupid. Somebody could just go there and take a hand grenade, to keep a simplistic view of it. Take a hand grenade, pull the pin, and throw it down the ductwork, and it might conceivably get to the bottom and blow up. But it depends how much time you have on your grenade. Some grenades are 4 seconds, sometimes they're 7. It depends what country, what grenade, what time of, 1940, 1980, okay. So, grenades aren't going to destroy the place, but they would if you kept dropping them in. If they went all the way down to the bottom and blew up, why can't you just take a nice big satchel of 8 or 10 pounds of high explosives and throw those down the ductwork with a 10-15 second fuse and then start blowing the place up. So they wouldn't be that stupid. They would have turns, so it would get stopped up, probably high up, but the air would move pretty good. I'm guessing this is probably what they did. So I don't know how much damage they accomplished. I saw pictures of the Iranians out there working at one of the facilities, and there were holes or, divots in the earth, you might say, right around the facility entrance, and they were repairing those. So I'm still skeptical as to what they really accomplished, except in Fordo. They might have actually fixed that one's wagon. They may have damaged that. I don't know. So Iran is saying, we're not negotiating with America. We have no reason to it. We're not stopping our nuclear facility. We're resuming it. And then they're calling Trump a liar. They're saying Trump is exaggerating the damage. Then they're telling Trump, if you want to get into negotiations with us, you got to be nice to us. And they were bad-mouthing Trump to the point where Trump said, I was telling people to search for a plan or create a plan for sanction relief for Iran, and now I told them to stop working on it. And Iran is behaving psychotically like a criminally insane serial killer, and they were holding a celebration in Tehran in the streets for the victory they got. A victory? Did you see all the pictures and videos of Tehran, their capital, up in smoke, their pier up in smoke, airports getting hit, other cities getting hit, electric power generators going out, military bases getting... they got hit heavy. And they're back with a victory celebration. What was their victory? Well, I'll tell you. There was a real victory. They did not lose their nuclear facilities, except maybe Fordo got broken up, but there's supposedly 5 or 6 of these facilities. But what we're learning from Israeli intelligence, it could be 10 or 12. So Israel is saying our intelligence is telling us there are other facilities, but we don't know where they are. Where would this intelligence come from? Planes flying over, drones? No, because then they would know where it was, right? It's coming up from listening, eavesdropping, through email, phone calls, whatever. And they're hearing officials in the Iranian military or government talking about these facilities, probably by their name or their number or their designation, but it's not revealing where the heck it is. They don't know where it is. So we didn't hit them. Now comes 900 pounds of enhanced uranium at 60%. Now, Any of you have an F-250, an F-150 truck? Sure you do. Or you might have the equivalent in a Chevrolet or another brand, right? Okay, can you put 900 pounds in there? Of course. Of course you can. Any of these pickup trucks, even the little ones like the Ford Rangers, will hold 900-pound load. But they probably have substantial trucks. But the point I'm trying to make is you can move 900 pounds of uranium in an F-150 if you wanted to. But Iran has much more sophisticated vehicles than F-150s. They knew the attack was coming from America. Israel was attacking. So even before anybody attacked, before Israel or America attacked, don't you think? I believe Iran even said they did that. They said they did it. That they took their nuclear material, all 900 pounds, and probably put it in one or two different locations. That's very secure. Maybe they put it underground. They probably did. They would have had to contain it inside containment cases or, for insulated boxes or something for transport. That's not a problem. So that material was not sitting there. They're not that stupid. They're a country of 90 million. They conducted a revolution in 1979. So basically, for 46 years, they've been running a country of 90 million people. They're not that stupid. Okay? So there's a lot of problems. Iran is rubbing it in Donald Trump's face. We'll be back in the saddle with our uranium enrichment, and we're putting more centrifuges in action. We're going into it deeper and more and bigger and better, and we're going to be doing it immediately as quick as we can, and da 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 da. No, we're not going to meet with Trump. No, Trump insults us. Let me go into my notes and show you some of the other things they were saying. You got to remember, insulting Trump when you're Iran is not a really good idea. Does that make sense? I mean, there's a lot of things they could do, and that would be one of the most inflammatory with volatile Trump, don't you think? Okay, let me get into some of the statements. I don't have prayer requests. My neck is much better. I would say I'm up to 80% better or something like that. Probably 80%. It wouldn't hurt if you prayed for my neck to keep healing. I'd appreciate it. Unless I forget, I'm going to do the Kohanim blessing today. First, another big problem that Trump has is, remember his asinine ceasefire? with the Houthis? Well, the Houthis are continuing to fire missiles at Israel. Previously in the past, the Trump boys like Marco Rubio, Hegseth, and Trump was saying they're going to hold Iran responsible for what their proxies do. Now, we are getting trouble with the Hezbollah proxies in Lebanon, but the trouble is not allowed to progress to the point where shoulder-fired anti-tank missiles and various other missiles are being shot into Israel. Israel is attacking in Lebanon every day. Sometimes it's weapon depots and missiles, missile launchers, things like that. Other times it's a building that Hezbollah is using. Other times it's a targeted assassination, like in a vehicle or on a motorcycle or things of that nature. It doesn't always involve one standard type of assassination. I wonder if our election... No, we're good. I thought the power went out. No, the plug got loose. Okay. So that's a proxy of Iran. They just grabbed $7 million, or it was 7 million euros, even more money. At the airport, some woman from Africa was bringing in, in cash. Now, what do you think that was? It was Iran smuggling money in for Hezbollah. Who takes a move like $7 million in cash? I mean, they found an unlikely candidate, a woman from Africa, probably tied in by the family or something to the terrorist organization. All right, let me keep going. So the Houthis are continuing to try to reach Israel with ballistic missiles. However, weeks ago, their missiles sometimes got through. Now they don't. Now they don't even make it to Israel. They fall. I'm not saying we took them down. Sometimes we take them down before they get to Israel. Or another country might take them down before they get to Israel, which is not common. It's rare. Could happen. They're falling down on their own. So what happened? Well, I'll tell you what happened. We and America, Israel and America, hit the ports and the piers there, and we hit the ports and the piers and airports. We had airports in Yemen, we had airports in Iran. So the Iranians are not flying their good missiles into Yemen anymore. They probably need them. And they're afraid to land at the airports over there. I don't know if they can. When you're talking about a large cargo plane, a big puppy, right? You need a 2-mile runway. Now, you can't take a big cargo plane and put it on a 2-mile dirt road. That could be dangerous. There could be pieces of log there that can mess with the landing gear. There could be holes that could get the plane to flip over, all sorts of stuff. You need a real runway, which would have to be made out of blacktop or concrete, preferably hard concrete, so the heat down there, when it gets hot, doesn't soften the blacktop, the tar, which could make for more catastrophic landing problems and takeoff. So any kind of an airport like that in Yemen was the Sana'a airport, which was blown up pretty good, and we probably would continue to blow it up again. So for a combination of reasons, Iran being hit, Iran losing a lot of their missile inventory and launchers, and their factories are defunct, and the airports are messed up both in Iran and in Yemen. They're not transferring weapons to Yemen. But Yemen is still, in some cases, managing to drive people into the shelters. Now, sometimes not, like why not? We do a takedown before it gets to Israel, or their missile takes itself down in error before it gets to Israel. Then the people don't even go to the bomb shelter, but the Houthis are keeping it up. America, the whole Trump cabinet had told them in the past, we're going to hold Iran responsible for what their proxies do, and Israel has told them that too. And they refer to it as cutting the head off the snake. Now, the head, Israel is now saying, is Iran, the head on the snake, but it's defanged. No, it's not defanged. It's probably lost. Let's say the thing has 4 fangs. The Iranian thing is down to 1 fang, maybe 2. It's way down, but it's still there. It's still killing people. They were still killing people with their hypersonic ballistic missiles. Now, during this so-called ceasefire, has Israel been sitting on their hands? No. The boots on the ground, Mossad and the agents that are Iranian working for the Mossad are all kinds of active. Trump arrested 130 Iranian sleeper cell people in America. The United States government arrested 130 sleeper cell people in America. That is probably far from all of them. Now, why do they call them cells? Back in the Cold War, when the communists were doing stuff like this, they would send people in, right? And the people would form a cell, but they wouldn't know the other cells. So let's say you had a cell in Atlanta. Okay, I just picked a place. You could say, and you could say Miami, you could say Seattle, Portland, wherever you want, So the people in Atlanta know who are the other people in Atlanta in their cell. Now, there might be 3 cells in Atlanta, and they only know the people in 1 cell. They got to interact with each other. They need to know each other. Some of them are going to do explosives. Some of them are going to do communications. Some of them are going to do safe houses, food, medical, money, supplies, guns, transportation. Some of them are shooters. Special forces guys that will engage in gunfights with military and police. And this type of thing, right? So if you pick up 1 sleeper cell, you're not going to get the others. You're just going to get that 1. You can waterboard them, you could do whatever you want to them, and they can't give you information they don't have. That's it. That's the long and the short and the tall. That's how this stuff works. How are they going to give you information that they don't have? It's impossible. Can they tell you who their contact is inside America and inside and back home in Iran? Sure they can. Can they tell you how they make contact? Yeah. They'd probably contact somebody in America, and if they get picked up, that somebody in America is going to have hours of warning. He hits the road, another cell, he has a handler, and he screams bloody murder to that handler, and they get him out of there, and they get him someplace, and then they got to get him out of the country, which getting him into Mexico could work, getting him into Canada is easier, and then from Canada they can get him out. But that person is burned, and they just get him out. Then they could recreate him later on or use him for something else. Or they could just move him quite simply. Somebody's going to reveal, you pick up an Iranian sleeper agent guy and they waterboard him. And, his name is, Mahmoud Mohammed Sabil or whatever, right? Okay. What's he look like? Oh, he's in his 40s, he's 5'10", he's got brown hair, balding in the front, brown eyes, blah, 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 right? Okay, wonderful. You got his name, you got where he lives, he no longer lives there. You got his email and his phone, but he no longer uses those. So you go hunting for him. Whatever the house you're going to go into has been stripped clean. There's nothing in there, and probably fingerprints have been removed as well. There's nothing there to get. You're not getting any intel out of that place. You're not getting anything of any value, right? What do you got there? Nothing. So, what do? They take this guy, they move him 500 or 1,500 miles away to another state, to another sleeper cell. They get him a new set of ID, if they possibly can. If they got him the first set of ID, I don't know, maybe they can't. It might be if they could establish his identity solid enough to stand serious checks, then, you know, you might keep more. They might just move him to another cell far away and then get him out of the country. I don't know. They could also, being Iranians, they could also say he's a risk and kill him. See, if they get the handler, that's a problem. Because the handler has another handler. And that other handler probably handles 3 or 4 handlers, a higher level handler. So they get too far up the pole. So the Iranians would just hide him someplace indefinitely in America or get him out. That's probably what they would do. But that has gotten Trump scared. Because what Trump's not telling you is if they caught them at that amount of 130, if it's true, and it probably is, there's many more, there's thousands more or hundreds more, but they got plans from them. Either they got it verbally by interrogating them, and they found that several were coming up with plans that were the same, so they're probably true, or they actually found paperwork on the plans. And do you think, just maybe out of the clear blue sky, some of these plans included the assassination of Donald Trump? I do. Probably a lot of them. They tried to kill him before. So from this, we could rest assured with reasonable certainty that the assassination of Ayatollah Khomeini is going to resume, the efforts to do so, if they ever stop. Now, Khomeini hasn't appeared in public or given any live interviews in a long time. So people are wondering. Now, the explanation could very simply be that this Khomeini moron is hiding in some underground bunker somewhere, and he doesn't want to do any live stream or live event because he's afraid they could trace the broadcast signal back to where he is, and they'll drop, so many bombs on him, it won't be funny, So there's a perfectly good explanation for that other than he's dead. But again, let's not read into it. Maybe he is dead. Okay? But we don't know. The Israeli government does not believe he's dead. Okay? Now, so Iran's going to pay for what the Houthis are doing according to America and Israel. All right? So that means Israel's going to attack the Houthis too, and they were already talking about an attack is coming on the Houthis. They want to shut that down. Biblically speaking, Iran is not shut down. It needs to be shut down, and the Houthis need to be shut down. So we could have the events in Malachi 3 take place. The next temple and Elijah start working and training the Levites. I do not believe the climate and time for that would be correct, with missiles raining down on Jerusalem and Tel Aviv from Yemen and from Iran, with drones added in. Now, Iraq has not fired on us in a long time. Neither has Syria. And Gaza continues to fire at us, but with very weak, feeble efforts. So that's one other way of looking at this, other than Jeremiah 49 and the prophecy against Elam, E-L-A-M, which is southwestern Iran, and very likely includes parts of Iraq and possibly Syria. There was an assassination attempt on the new president of Syria that Turkey seemed to have foiled. Was it a serious attempt, or was it a bunch of high school kids trying to knock him off? Who knows? Now, our Minister of Defense, the defense minister, his name is Katz, K-A-T-Z, which is a common Jewish name. So a lot of people in New York, when I grew up, with the name Katz. I got to adjust my air conditioning for a second here. It's too cold. I got the door closed. If I open the door, it gets too hot. What is it at? Okay. Where is it? Should be this. Yeah, that should do it. So Katz said, we're not going to let Iran take away our air superiority over Iran. That's one statement he said, and then Netanyahu didn't object at all. And I didn't hear Trump bellyache at all. What does that mean? That means if Iran's going to get new missile defense systems of their own accord, maybe they build them or they get them from Russia or China or whoever they're going to get them from, Israel's going to fly in and blow them up again. That's basic stuff. Okay? And they're also saying they're not going to let Iran push them around and continue to build nuclear weapons and this kind of stuff as well. So the stage is set. I mean, Trump's in. He's talking about there might be another attack on Iran. Well, that's how he talks. That's how he talks. Now, the other theory that could be playing here is if Iran gets their head handed to them again, it may stop the Houthis. The ships are afraid to go through the Red Sea because of that idiot, the Houthis in Yemen. And they're also still afraid to go through the Persian Gulf because of that idiot Iran. So you better believe international shipping is still messed up. But we are able to, you can get shipments into Israel from overseas now. And they do come in. They come in rather quickly. I think there was a backlog for a day or two. And Amazon's not getting real excited about sending packages here yet, which is curious, but it'll probably open up Monday or Tuesday. We'll find out. So Trump is saying within a week we'll have a peace deal in Gaza. What the heck is he talking about? Let me tell you what their two-state solution is. This is harebrained. That's why Netanyahu's going along with it. It's never going to go anywhere. Israel never, ever, ever agreed with it. They want to take the area like Hebron and Ramallah in the West Bank, and they want to connect it to Gaza. And they'll do that with a highway. And the way they do this is they put these walls up on the highway that are about 20, 25 feet high. They're smooth, they're very high. It would not be an easy thing to go over the wall. You would need some kind of a rope and grappling hook or something like that. And, it's easy to control that with cameras, patrols, stuff like that. Now, building something like that would take 2 years. It's never going to happen. Prophetically, there's no time for it. And then what part of the West Bank becomes Palestinian and what part isn't? And, it's kind of silly. It ain't going to go anywhere. And to get a ceasefire in Gaza, what has to happen is this. Israel has to do a total withdrawal out of Gaza. And Israel won't do that unless all the hostages, the dead bodies, the living hostages are all released. And Hamas isn't going to release them until Israel does a full withdrawal. And as soon as Israel does a full withdrawal, the weapons will come in again from Egypt. But wait a minute, put the brakes on, throw the anchors out. Where Egypt doesn't give them the weapons, the missiles, Egypt doesn't give them the money and the concrete. Who does it? Does Norway do it? Does Argentina do it? Does Japan do it? Or does Iran do it? Iran does it. So how do you get a peace in Gaza? You got to give Iran 2 black eyes, a broken nose, and knock half their teeth out. Then they might quit. Will they? No, they'll quit when they're dead. They'll quit when they're dead, or they have no weapons, no money, no nothing. Then they can't proceed. They want to, but they have nothing to proceed with. Then they're finished. So they stop when they have nothing to shoot or fire with or do any damage with, or when they're dead. That's it. That's the only time they stop. You're never going to see a meaningful ceasefire that's real. It's going to work. Okay. So how do you get a ceasefire in Gaza? You knock the daylights out of Iran. What is Trump thinking? Well, Netanyahu's not that stupid. Trump is probably thinking, due to lack of experience, we're going to leak to the Iranians that, as long as this thing in Gaza is continuing, and as long as the Houthis is continuing, and the Hezbollah is continuing, which I'm not so sure Iran has that much to do with, but they're trying to, you're going to have no peace. So will Iran voluntarily stop? No. So the prophecy in Jeremiah 49 about Elam getting destroyed must march on. And probably, as my guesstimate, looking at prophecy, it probably happens before redemption. Some of the fighting and this stuff is going to happen after redemption. And I'll show you the scriptures for that. Let me finish this up, though. So the Yemen doesn't have any good missiles or rockets. Neither does Gaza, but they're still trying with their immature rockets. So what is going to happen is, if there is no Iran, then you could have the peace deal with Gaza, because there's nobody going to be coming with missiles and smuggling them into Gaza, China doesn't care about them. Neither does North Korea. Neither does Russia. Neither does Saudi Arabia. Or nobody cares about it. Nothing's going to happen. Okay? When you do that, then you don't have to worry about the Rafah crossing into Egypt because nobody's coming with missiles. So it makes perfect sense to me that this attacks on Iran revive in the coming days. Today the ceasefire with Gaza will fail because Israel's not going to go for it. The idea is to put 2 to 4 countries in Gaza to monitor the ceasefire or the peace deal. 2 of these countries appear to be Egypt and Qatar, both of which hate us. Egypt allowed all the smuggling of the missiles and the concrete for the tunnels to go in, and Qatar supplies Gazans and Hamas with funding. So how fair are they going to be? Not fair at all. See the problem? So when you put all the pieces together, what you come up with is, yes, there's going to be another attack on Iran in the coming days, not weeks, days. Why do I say that? Trump is trying to accelerate the Gaza thing, and he has been told by the powers of the air that they need to cut all the wars out and quiet everything down. Now, a lot of people are running around following Ukraine and Russia as if it's such vitally important information. It is important. And we know after 3 years, Russia's not that powerful. But what's going to bring the prophetic events on the world is not Russia and Ukraine. It's what happens in Israel, to Israel. Okay? And they don't know that because they don't know the Bible. Let's look at the live stream. Yeah, please hit the like button, guys. It takes you 2 seconds. It's not that hard for you to do. Appreciate it if you would. Bibi is after Iran, and Bibi has been after, that's Netanyahu, has been after Iran for ages, and he wants to get them, and he hasn't gotten them yet, and he wants to go back and get his pound of flesh. Okay? And Trump is not that stupid. He realizes the house he's attacking Israel is Iran doing it. Okay? Now, I have to go looking for that scripture that shows us that we're going to be attacking during, I would say, after we have redemption. There's a lot of people that don't believe America's the daughter of Babylon, and you can argue with them, but you're never going to bring them around until it's over. And again, I remind you, it's sudden. The attack on America happens suddenly in a day and an hour. You don't see it coming. None of us are going to see it coming. We're not. Right now, you say, well, where the heck's the attack on America? It ain't coming. Where is it? You're not supposed to know where it is until it shows up. You're going to have 20/20 vision after the attack, not before. When the daughter of Babylon, America, gets attacked, you've got to read Jeremiah 51:48. It says, "Then the heaven and the earth and all that is therein shall sing for Babylon, for the spoiler shall come unto her from the north, saith the Lord. As Babylon hath caused the slain of Israel to fall." Did you hear that? Let's read it. As America. Now remember, if God in the Bible said, instead of saying Babylon, he said America or United States of America, they never would have named the country America or United States of America. They probably wanted to call America Babylon, but they didn't because it's in the scriptures. That's why. They didn't want to let the people understand who they are. As Babylon hath caused the slain of Israel to fall, so at Babylon shall fall the slain of all the earth. You that have escaped the sword, go away, stand not still, and remember Jehovah afar off, and let Jerusalem come into your mind. This is the next great Exodus. We are confounded because we have heard reproach. Shame hath covered our face, for strangers are come into the sanctuary, the temple of the Lord's house. Now, I think this could be a throwback to the 70 AD, or it could be the next temple. And they come in and defile the house. I'm leaning more on the last temple in 70 AD, but I'm not sure. Wherefore, behold, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will do judgment upon her graven images, and through all her land the wounded shall groan. Though Babylon, okay, so I didn't get to what I'm looking for, so I got to keep hunting for it. See, and in verse 2 of Jeremiah 51, it says, "And will send into Babel." See, the English says Babylon. That's nonsense. In every Hebrew manuscript, it says Babel, which is a word that means confusion. That's what you call Babylon, which used to be in the land we call Iraq today, was really called Babel, not Babylon. And it's a Hebrew word meaning confusion. That shall fan her and shall empty her land in the day of trouble. They shall be against her round about. See, they're going to come in from all over. They're going to come from Canada, Mexico, and then probably from the Gulf of Mexico, the Atlantic, and the Pacific. Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth himself up in his brigandine, and spare you not her young men, destroy her utterly, all her host. All her host is her military. They all get destroyed. For Israel hath not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God. Now they think it's the God of the church, not of Israel. I don't know what they think in the churches, but Israel's not forsaken of Jehovah. Though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. That's because he blinded their eyes and stopped up their ears, lest they turn to him and be healed. So the punishment in Hosea 6, 1 and 2 for 2,000 years could be upon them in its completion. It's a approximate 2,000 years because it says 2 days. And Peter says 1,000 years is like a day. If it was a precise 2,000 years, that we would know the exact time it was over by calendars, it wouldn't say that. It would say something like Babylon captivity, 70 years. Or Yeshua was in the wilderness for 40 days. Or they wandered in Egypt, in the wilderness with Moses and Aaron for 40 years. It would have a year number, not be more more concealed, like saying 2 days. Well, Israel's punishment wasn't for 48 hours. Flee out of the midst of Babel and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her lawlessness, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. And that would tell me that it's a bad day for America. But it doesn't say the day of vengeance, it says the Lord's vengeance. America gets hit before the day of vengeance. It has to be that way, or there wouldn't be any nations to plunder and loot and pillage America if it wasn't that way. What's going to happen is a lot of these Muslim states in the Middle East are going to join in. And they're going to rip the place off. They're going to rob everything, and they're going to take it back to their countries. And then when we hit redemption, we're going to invade their countries. Now, you read in Genesis 15, God made a covenant to give Israel the land from the Euphrates to the Nile. Now, a lot of you don't know that land is 100 times, approximately as a guess, 100 times bigger than what Israel is today. So from the Nile River in Africa, it includes Egypt going east, Sudan and South Sudan going east, okay? It includes Kenya and Uganda, where the Nile goes through east of that. It includes a good piece of Ethiopia, if not all of it. It includes Somalia, Djibouti. Now you go over to the other side of the Red Sea. It includes Saudi Arabia, and it also would include Yemen, which is Edom in the Bible, but it gets destroyed and we don't actually ever live in Edom. But Saudi Arabia is another thing. And then you have Jordan. Now, Jordan, the middle and south of Jordan gets destroyed. That's called Moab in the Bible. Northern Jordan is called Ammon, and they make it and they become subjected to Israel. Then it also would include Oman, Dubai, the UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait. These are super rich countries, and we'll pillage those. We don't go further. Iran's not part of Israel as far as I can detect. And we don't go over there. Now, Syria is ours to the west of the Euphrates River, as is Iraq to the west of the Euphrates River, as is Turkey to the west of the Euphrates River, and all of Lebanon is ours. And you add that up and look at it, it's about 100 times bigger than the Israel today. So they're going to loot and pillage and plunder the wealth out of America. Remember, the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous, and then we'll loot them. Either when they come and surround us, we'll loot them, or we'll probably get into their houses too. Okay. Because we're all going to be rich in Israel. Babylon hath been it says so, a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The heathen nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Suddenly, you got to understand that. You ain't going to get a lot of warning on this. It could happen this afternoon. You're not going to see it coming. Or it wouldn't be suddenly. It wouldn't be in a day and an hour. Howl for her. Take balm for her wounds, if so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go, every one into his own country. Her judgment reacheth into heaven, and is lifted up to the skies. The Lord hath brought forth our righteousness. Now, that word means, tzedakah means righteousness. And that would probably happen at redemption, the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man in the clouds. Come and let us declare in Zion the work of the Lord our God. Declare it in Zion. So obviously, it can't be Israel. They wouldn't leave America and have Jerusalem come into their mind and go to Israel if they're already in Israel. You know, these liars pin it on Israel. Make bright the arrows, gather the shield. The Lord hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, Median Empire, for his device against Babel to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple. He could be going after them because they got rid of the first temple, the Babylonians invaded, and the same unclean spirits are running America as that ran Babylon. You think Hitler's unclean spirits didn't go into somebody else when he got killed? Don't be naive. The Babylonian unclean spirits are in the Americans now. And it might have been this, Hitler could have had the Babylonian unclean spirits. Set up the standard upon the walls of Babel, make the watch strong. Set up the ambushes, for Jehovah hath both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. It says, the walls set up the watch. Has Trump not put the military on the walls between America and Mexico? He has. Wake up. O thou that dwellest upon many waters, abundant in treasures, thy end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness. This is America. Many waters, Atlantic, Pacific, the Great Lakes, the Gulf of Mexico, 8,000 rivers, and probably another amount of about 8,000 in the lakes. And they say it's Israel. Israel's a dry, parched place. That's what Sion or Zion means. And what about Saudi Arabia? They say Babylon's in Saudi Arabia. It's a desert, for crying loud. Wake up. What about the Vatican? Well, number one, no Jews live in the Vatican. 200 to 300 people live in the Vatican. That's it. 200 to 300. That's it. And there's no Jews there, and they don't have any waters like that. They got toilets, water fountains, bottles of holy water. What do they got? They got nothing. The Lord of hosts hath sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars. Wake up. That's your sleeper agents. There's millions of them there. Caterpillars. They come in large amounts when they destroy the crops. There's millions of these sleeper agents there. They're like caterpillars. They crawl around and destroy. Caterpillars are destroyer. And they shall lift up a shout against thee. Well, they're going to rise up against America. He hath made the earth by his power. He hath established the world by his wisdom, and hath stretched out the heaven by his understanding. The portion of Jacob, remember Jacob's trouble, it means all 12 tribes, is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name. Now pay attention. This is directed to Israel. Thou art my battle axe. America is referred to as the hammer of the whole earth. Here, Israel's called, thou art my battle axe and weapon of war. Remember the previous verse, he's talking about Jacob. This is Israel. This is redeemed Israel with the 12 tribes when they come out and come back. Weapon of war, for with thee will I break in pieces the heathen nation, the Goyim, the heathen, and with thee will I destroy the kingdoms. That's us. We will fight, and we will win, and we will be victorious. And with thee will I break in pieces the horse and his rider. They make songs about this in the church, but when you tell them what it means, they hate you, or they think you're crazy. And with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider. With thee also will I break in pieces man and woman, and with thee will I break in pieces old and young. With thee will I break in pieces the young man and the maid. I will also break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock. And with thee will I break in pieces the husbandman and his yoke of oxen, and with thee will I break in pieces captains and rulers, and I will render unto Babel and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea, that's Babylon, America, all their evil that they have done in Zion. All the evil they did in Zion, that's Israel, in your sight. That means in front of your eyes, in front of your face. They're going to do evil here. Likely Trump and Netanyahu are going to have a falling out, and Trump's going to come in here and assert us. They're going to do evil to us here. They may, it probably already is done with what they did to us with Biden, withholding weapons, October 7th and everything else. But it may have more to come. Probably will, because it's probably going to get worse from them. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith Jehovah, which destroyeth all the earth, and I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and make thee a burnt mountain. And they shall not take of thee a stone for a corner. In other words, it's going to be destroyed. It's not going to come back. Okay, so that's where it's coming from when I tell you we're going to be fighting after we hit redemption. Okay? That we're not going to have women in our army. God doesn't put women in the army. Okay? He doesn't put children in the army. And it says we're going to fight with sling stones. Another scripture says that. Now, we had a great leader of Israel that fought with a sling stone. His name was David, King David, but he was a child. He dropped that Goliath with a sling stone. We're going to have a different kind of body when we hit redemption. We'll be able to die, but it'll have everlasting life, so we'll live a long, long time, like they did before the flood, only much longer, probably twice as long. But you don't have to live that long. You just got to make it into New Jerusalem, and we know that's 70 years from redemption. Daniel 9:24 says 70, not 70 weeks. But I can't go through all the prophecies here. We'll be here we'll be here till Wednesday. I'm going to do some more with you, but let me jump in to the live stream. Someone says it wasn't always a desert. You're not, no, guy, I lived here for many years. Okay, I'm sitting here now. I'm in the Galilee. Of course I know these things. But did you know it's a dry, parched place now? And that's what the meaning of Zion is? The King Bibi, yeah, he thinks he's like a king. Okay. Trump, for the second time, told Israel he almost ordered them to stop the persecution against Netanyahu. He implied to them that he said, we give billions of dollars to Israel more than any other country. Well, I'm not so sure that it's more than Ukraine. I'm pretty sure Ukraine gets more than Israel. Check it out. But it does give money to Israel. And he was threatening Israel with, what he was saying is, if you get rid of Ukraine, you get rid of Netanyahu, I'm going to get rid of your money. I'm not going to give you the money. They're not going to listen to him, I don't think. Maybe they will. I don't know. He wants this stopped because then Netanyahu will end the wars. Netanyahu's afraid to end the wars because as soon as the wars are over, the Supreme Court's going to say, get your tail into court, Netanyahu. We're finishing this trial. It's been going for years. You've been stalling it. And then he could get 16 years in jail. That's the problem. All right. Kohanim blessing. Numbers 6. Now, as a lot of you know, I am a Kohanim, a descendant of Aaron, and I have the Holy Spirit, and I live in Israel where the Bible says that's where he accepts you. It's in Ezekiel chapter 20, starting in verse 33, towards the end. You'll read it there if you care to find out that's where he accepts the people. Now, let me get to the right verse here. It's verse 22. Okay, verse 22. Numbers 6, verse 22. No, I'm doing this for real, but I'll read it to you in English. And Jehovah spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto Aaron and unto his sons. Technically, I'm a son of Aaron, many generations removed. The Jews passed down who is a Kohanim, which means a priest or a descendant of Aaron. And they have certain last names, which I have one of those and all that. There's many ways they do it. It comes up at bar mitzvahs, funerals, weddings, and different things. Okay, the circumcision, it comes up. His son saying, on this wise, talking to Moses, you shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them. Here we go, for real. Not just to those of you that are watching on the live stream, but to those of you that are true believers watching on the live stream or true believers watching it as a video. Or true believers not watching it. Jehovah bless thee and keep thee. Jehovah make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Jehovah lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. Shalom. And I put the name Jehovah upon the children of Israel, and Jehovah will bless them. Do all things in the name of Yeshua, so this is all done in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen. You don't hear them do that on the internet, do you? The Jews do it, but, they don't have the Holy Spirit. They're not, they're not following the Bible. They're rejecting Yeshua, calling God a liar. Okay. So what do I think? I think we have been seeing attacks on Iran. They've just been very subtle. They're like every day. And it's going to get more pronounced. And Trump's losing patience with Iran. So the way you're going to shut down the Houthis and you're going to shut down Gaza is going to basically be to shut down Iran. Syria is pretty much shut down. Iraq is pretty much shut down. And Lebanon is reasonably quiet, although we do keep attacking it every day. I'm not so sure we're going to be taking Jordan down before redemption, and the same for Saudi Arabia. So let's see what happens and watch it. I'm pretty sure that there'll be more attacks on Iran. What to expect from Trump? It's hard to say. What I would think Trump's plan is to re-hit, in other words, go back and bomb again the same sites he hit before and maybe additional nuclear sites. Now, he did that the first time, and Iran hit the consulate or embassy in Iraq that America had, and they hit the American military base, a building in Qatar. So the next time they're going to hit more American military targets, probably hit 10 or 15. So basically, we watch and wait and pray. And if you think your spiritual warfare is not leading into this or helping us get there, I'm not entirely sure, because I think we're going to get there one way or the other, but I think it could be a contributing factor if the Lord wants it to be anyway. Now remember, in Jeremiah 49, Elam gets destroyed by enemies. When we read about Israel being the sword that he uses to get the nations, right, in Jeremiah 51, I just read to you, that's Israel operating by itself, post-redemption, after the appearing of the Son of Man in the clouds. Where you see him, you'll have everlasting life. That's in Jeremiah, not in Jeremiah, it's in John 6, verse 40. And it should be read with Matthew 24, verse 30, Revelation 1, verse 7, 1 John 3, 2, and the culmination of it is Zechariah 12:10. You see it actually happened there. Okay, and you should also read Malachi 3 and 4, because you see it also in Malachi 4. So because Iran is destroyed by her enemies, I do not believe that it is post-redemption Israel. Israel's probably one of the enemies, and probably America's going to destroy Iran before it gets destroyed. That's probably going to be what pushes China, Russia, North Korea, and the other Muslim states over the line. Is they're going to say, for crying out loud, Trump will go around and get every one of us if we don't submit to him. And, you know. So I don't think that is post-redemption. I think we'll see that. The Houthis, will they be destroyed before redemption? I think they're going to at least not be able to launch missiles at us. And that might also happen to Iran. But I think with Iran, it's something different, and they'll get it before. So that's what I got for today. I hope you got something out of that. I put offering information. It's PayPal. It's in the description box towards the bottom. It's posted up in the chat. Please pray for me and my wife. And I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife. Pray for our peace, safety, protection, joy, and that our house and car and property and our animals and pets be all safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole. The animals and pets are all rescues. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for better videos. And please hit the thumbs up button. It takes you 2 seconds. It makes a difference. Other people can get this information. If you help me get more popular on YouTube, I could spread it. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I'm out. Thank you.